In this movie I will explain how you can switch a lamp or a light in ETS5. So we start by the window topology, and we see that we made already an area 1, we have a line 1, and we have some devices. We have our power supply, we have our USB interface, we have a universal push button module, so these are the push buttons, also called sensors, and then we have a switch actuator and again a push button. The actuators are called in general actuators. This is a switch actuator, but you also have a dimming actuator or a roller shutter. So what do we need? For example, I want to use this push button, and this push button has several push buttons, and in the parameters I can check, for example, for push button 1, which kind of function I do want to select. And I first, in this example, I just first want to have only switching, so I choose for selection switching. When I look at the group objects, then I see that push button 1 only have one switching object, and the length is 1 bit. When you have, for example, selected the dimming, then you will see in the group object that you have for push button 1 two objects, a switch object and a dimming object. The first is 1 bit, the second is 4 bit, but now we are just focusing on the switching object. So I change again, and I just want to have one switching object called A here with 1 bit length. So when I have more parameters, I can, for example, say what's happening when I'm pushing this button. Then it will send an on telegram, a 1 bit or a 1. I can also change this, but I just like it like that. The second thing I do have to know is, for example, this switch actuator has two outputs, and let's say that on output 1 there is a light in the kitchen, and in my group object I see two objects, an object output 1, switching object also 1 bit, and an output 2. But now I just want the output 1 because that is the output which is connected to my device, to the light in the kitchen. So I'm interested in this object and the object of my push button interface, push button number 1. So what do I have to do in ETS5 is, now in the group addresses I will make a structure. Here I already made it, and the main group address is called light, then I have the middle group is called switching, and then subgroup is light kitchen. So for main I have a light general, all what's light, and then the middle group is switching, so all lights who can be switched on or off. And then I have the light in the kitchen, that's my subgroup in which I can get my switch object from push button 1, for example. So I select it here, and I take the actuator also, output 1, switching. So what I'm doing now is connecting two objects in this subgroup address, and this means that it is kind of virtual cable between the push button and between the actuator or the actor. So this means that when you push on push button 1, it sends a 1 signal, a 1 bit, a 1 to the actuator who receives this, to the output 1, and who will switch on the light in the kitchen. When I again push, then I can for example say that you can send a 0, but that I do have to change in my parameters. So here the connection between the actor and the push button is already made, but now only I can switch switching on. So I will have a look to this parameters in the push button. So I'm going again to the parameters of push button 1, and you see that it's only sending a 1 telegram. For example, I can choose for push button 2 who will switch off the same light indication. So what do I have to do then? Then I take the push button 2, the switching object 1 bit, so you see that in a sub group address you can only connect objects of the same length. When you, for example, want to select 4-bit here, it won't work out. You get an error. So now what do I have programmed now in ETS5 is that with push button 1 I can send a 1 to switch on the light indication, turn on. With push button 2 I can send a 0 or an off signal to the switching output 1, and then the light indication will switch off. When, for example, again with another push button, for example push button 3, I can also choose to toggle it. This means that with a 1 signal you can switch on or off the same light. So you don't need another push button, it's just a toggling. So with push button 3 I can toggle, I can switch on or off. With 1 I can switch on, with 2 I can switch off. If I want to change this, I can change this in my parameters. But you have to know, when I, for example, change this function, for example to switch, then you get a message that all the associations with this push button 3 will be deleted. So you have to reassociate this to sub address light indication.